I always loved them and had much respect for all of them.
Yeah.
And they were all instrumental in bringing me here. Matter of fact, I would say there's nothing in my life that I would dare change because I think it might mess it up for now. If I changed it just a little bit, it might screw all this up. I might even not have met you. You know, so I don't dare think about changing anything. And I think that's what I've learned in recovery is you don't regret the past. You just accept it, get past it, and move on to better things. Well, I'm old.
Yeah, you got plenty to say.
I do.
I gotta let my wife know. I'm gonna be here all night, honey. What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bringing guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life to share their journey and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. We're here to make an impact, and that is what we do. So if that is for you, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And if that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but it's time to jump on board today. Thank you. But without further ado, I would love to introduce today's guest, Mr. Ken Cheatham.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you very much.
Guys, for those of you that haven't made the connection already, I've spoken about my mentor, Rick, quite often on this show. But he's also, I will remember, I think it's 130 something, but he's got a part 1 and part 2 episode, and this is his father.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into your story and hear about your journey and everything along the way. Where did you come from?
Well, I was conceived in Oklahoma. Oh, you mean today?
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
You're from out of town. You're from California still, right?
Actually, we're residents of Tennessee.
Okay.
My wife and I.
Oh.
We became residents in 2023.
Okay.
And some difficulties came along that we had certain plans so that we could actually get down here a lot sooner than we have. I still have my house in California.
Okay.
So I did come in from California last week.
Okay.
But we come down here quite a while.
Yeah.
And, sometimes multiple times a year. But I sort of semi-retired back in, I don't know, maybe 2011. And then in 2020, Rick and his wife moved to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And my other son, Jim, Rick's brother, he's in California, babysitting our cats in our house.
Nice.
And when we move, he'll probably be coming too. So
Nice.
So we'll have the bulk of my family here.
So we're going to take it back, but what do you say life looks like for you today?
Well, number one, I am a recovered alcoholic, and I'm in recovery as we speak. I've been a recovered alcoholic for 28 years, a little over 28 years. And my focus in life, not long after I started getting serious about recovery, did I make sharing my story with other people so they could recover from alcoholism. That's been my major thrust for, I want to say 28 years, because my first year I was all about me.
Yeah.
I was concerned about me getting help, And matter of fact, I had decided, because my mentor at the time was very busy with me, helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't think I could put this much attention to one guy for free. It's just like, this is not good. I understood this is part of my recovery, but I don't know if I could to do that. So anyway, he suggested that I had been in several jails over my lifetime for things that I did breaking the law, and he suggested, why don't I start? There is a there was a program, there still is, but he suggested that I get hooked up with some people that were hooked up with the county sheriff's department and start going into actually the very jail I had been in twice, and take my message of recovery to them.
Okay.
And so that got started about a year in.
Nice.
I've been basically doing that for the last 27 years.
So now, I'm sure there's a lot of like recovery and reflection in your life nowadays, being in the age, but you're more so, that's what keeps you busy, is you're focused on helping people going through that.
Yeah, I work, I have a tax practice. I pared it down. I pared my company down to just me. I let the staff go, sold the place that we had, and moved into made an office out of one of my bedrooms in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been doing that for 11 years. So I basically work from February, March, and April 15th.
Oh.
So then around in September and October, there are people that have taxes due in those times if they've asked for an extension or something.
Yeah.
So I'll have to dabble in it by again.
Okay.
But pretty much the rest of the time, I'm pretty much devoted to trying to be helpful to other alcoholics.
I love that.
It's become a way of life.
Yeah. It's like it's purposeful. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it's purposeful.
Nice. Well, now we touched on that. We'll get back to this point, right? But now we're going to take it back.
Okay. Well, let's take it really back.
Okay.
My father, his name was actually Madison McLean. He didn't like the name, and people called him Mac, M-A-C-K, since he was a kid. So he just adopted that name. All of his legal documents and everything for pretty much his whole life is Mac Cheatham.
Okay.
And he was born in 1908. He served in World War I. Okay.
Almost 100 years ago.
Yeah. So Mac he married a lady named Mona, and they had 4 children. And in 1938 or thereabouts, Mona died. I think it was from stomach cancer or something like that. Mm. And so her children were, 18 and down. And my mother, who Mac would marry later, she lived in a little town called Cushing, Oklahoma, and she was a beautician. This was fairly rare because back in those days there was a barber. Everybody got a barber, but beauticians were, and to have your own shop, that was kind of rare.
Yeah.
And she had a little baby girl who was fairly newly born. She had a 6-year-old daughter also, and her husband was killed in an accident, an automobile accident in Cushing, a little town, probably had one stoplight. And somehow I think my dad was originally, he grew up on a farm, but he was a horse trader. That's what he did for a living.
Horse trader?
Horse trader, yeah. Traded horses.
Yeah.
Well, cars started coming along, it became more profitable to become a car dealer. So he was selling cars.
Yeah. He's like, what, all these cars coming in screwed up my business?
Yeah. Yeah. So I believe he was a car salesman in a little town, a little outside of Cushing called Drummond. And I think he got a job selling cars in Cushing. So it put her and him in proximity. Well, they met, and on the Christmas Eve of 1941, by the way, on the 7th of 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked. So just a couple of weeks later, my mom and dad were married. Wow. And that was 1941. I was conceived in Cushing. 3 months after that, my mom and dad, my two sisters from my mom's side, and one of my sisters from my dad's side all moved to California. 3 months later, I was born. So I was conceived in Oklahoma and born in California.
Nice.
Yeah. So Al growing up, all the family, when they were just joking around with me, they would call me a California prune picker.
Oh, this messed up.
So no, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. I was an Okie prune picker because prune picking was big in California at the time.
Oh.
So I was an Okie prune.
They combined them.
And growing up in a little town called Sunnyvale, my Aunt Sarah, my dad's sister, she had 6 kids, and they lived in a little 1-bedroom house.
Okay.
And she had moved there earlier herself, and she paid $4,400 for that house. That house today, if you could look at Zillow, it's last time I looked, it was 1.4 million.
Good Lord.
But they added some footage to it. It went from 590 to like 610. So they did some little something on it, but
still
610 feet to 1.4 million.
That's insane.
That's Sunnyvale for you.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, we had about 4,000 population, which was pretty good size for somebody coming from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But my dad, I remember him telling me that they were both laughing about this when I heard about it. He was getting robbed. $4,400 for a house?
Yeah.
Are you nuts?
Yeah.
You could buy the same house in Cushing for $400.
Oh my gosh.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, these prices are way too high.
Yeah. So in growing up, I had my Uncle Clint, my dad's brother Clint, my Aunt Sarah. These people were, and especially my father, and I didn't really realize this at the time. I think most kids don't. But my father was a huge influence on me. Mom and Dad took me to church, and I was introduced to a wonderful young preacher. I didn't think he was young at the time. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, but he would come over to the house and we'd have a Bible study. And I would be sitting on the floor around with everybody else studying the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Otis.
Otis?
Yeah.
Nice.
And he was a firecracker. He was really smart. And we were meeting in a little laundromat, a former laundromat. They took all the laundry stuff out and we just made a little church out of it. And we'd hang drapes, or sheets, I think. We hang sheets around to separate the classes. We'd have Bible studies in those Sunday schools.
Dang.
And then we'd take the sheets down, and then we'd have we'd have singing, preaching, and all that kind of stuff. My older brother Warren, became a minister. My other brother James, he was very smart. He was the family genius. They were both carpenters, but my brother went into preaching full time, and my other brother became a mechanic with my dad. They worked in my dad owned gas stations from the time I was born.
Okay.
And that I can remember. And my brother Jay became a world champion drag racer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And he was killed in a drag race.
Oh.
When I was 15 years old.
Mm.
And having all this influence, the church influence around me, we went to church 3 times a week pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was very important. We were taught that if you didn't go to church on a regular basis, you could go to hell. And when my brother died, that just occupied my mind. I thought, I just can't take this. He wasn't a bad person. He just, they had to race on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it was a hard thing. You were, that's your brother. You were close. And then to imagine him in hell because of what you've been taught.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to sit with.
It was hard to take. We weren't, I wouldn't say that we were all that close as brothers because he was a lot older than me. It was my dad's son. But he's still my brother.
Exactly.
And I went to the drag races with him a lot of times on Saturdays because I could go to the preliminaries and all all that kind of stuff. I just couldn't go on Sundays most of the time. Every once in a while, they'd let me go and I could watch him. He won every time. He won every week. He never lost.
He did something cool too. You kind of, and on top of that, you kind of looked up to him.
Absolutely.
So it's like, yeah, you lost a role model.
Yeah. So he he bought this old house and it was kind of dilapidated and everything, and he would just read a book and rewired the whole house. That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
He would teach me things like you can multiply like something like 25 times 25 or 35 times 35. And you can do it all in your head if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like 55 times 55 is 6,025. I didn't memorize that. There's a little trick. I just knew that's what it was. He'd teach me stuff like that.
I'd have to pause the show just to calculate that. I'd be like, me.
Yeah, it's true. So that was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I never had any inclination to become a preacher. Never. That was not my thing. And I knew it, and it was never going to happen. But I met a girl in high school, and she actually lived across the bay. We lived in a little town called Fremont, and she lived across the bay in Palo Alto. And she got pregnant. And so we just said, I was 17, she was 15. I never said a word of this to anybody ever until I did, like 28 years later. No. I'll get the math right in a minute. But anyway, her dad would not have it. My parents were okay. Well, you have to get married. That's all.
Yeah.
Her dad says no. Oh, he turned out later. I found out he was a very abusive man. But he said she's going to get an abortion, and you're never going to see her again. And that was the end of that story. Don't call her. Don't come back. And of course, I did. First thing I did the next day was call her.
Of course.
But I couldn't get through to her. I drove across the bay to see her in school. She was out of school already, and I lost track of her. I tried to find her when the internet came out. I tried furiously to find her to see did you actually get the divorce? Get the abortion? I never knew.
So this has always been a mystery.
Always been a mystery.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 2020, just at the very start of the COVID thing in California, they shut down everything in California in March of 2020. We couldn't drive. Weren't even supposed to drive from LA to San Francisco or anything like that. They just shut everything down.
That's wild.
And I got a phone call from one of my nieces in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And she asked me, Uncle Ken, does the name Phyllis Hickey mean anything to you? Well, Phyllis Hickey was the name of the girl in high school who got pregnant.
Whoa.
So I knew instantly, if my niece in Oklahoma knows Phyllis Hickey or knows about her, I have a child. There's no doubt about it. How could she even have any connection? Yeah. So I said, yeah. So I told her the story, and she said, well, I think you have a daughter by the name of Donna who lives up in San Jose, and she would like to call you if you don't mind. She doesn't want anything from you. She wants to make sure you don't, she doesn't want anything. She doesn't want to ask anything of you. She's perfectly happy and everything, but she would like to talk to her biological father. I said, are you kidding me? Absolutely. Give her my phone number, give her my email address, give her my home address. I don't care, whatever it is. Just she can absolutely call me.
Yeah.
So it got set up. She would call me at 1 o'clock on February 28th. It was a Friday of 2020. At 1 o'clock, she called. And we had a beautiful conversation. There was no tension. It was just, I told her what happened. I told her all the events that led up to it that I, could recall. And she said, well, that's consistent with what Phyllis, my mom says, because when she was 30 years old, she was able to find Phyllis, her mother. And Phyllis couldn't remember very much about me. She knew my name was Ken. That was about it.
Oh, so she was given up for, so she was adopted.
She was adopted.
Okay.
Yep. And she's been looking. She found her mother when she was 30, and she was looking for me for another 28 years. It took her 28 years to find me.
Whoa.
And that's because she put her DNA to one of these online. I don't know, you could probably think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it.
Ancestry type of.
That's it.
Yeah.
Ancestry. Yeah. So my niece in Tulsa, she put her DNA in, and they matched up. They're first cousins. And that's how they. So my niece says, oh, so she contacted her, said somehow we're supposed to be first cousins. I'd like to find out how that happened.
That is nuts.
She says the only thing she says is I know my dad's name was Ken. That's all I know.
Man, that gives me chills.
So,
and this was in 2020.
This was 2020.
That was not long ago.
Not long ago.
God.
So we had this wonderful conversation. I told her everything about me and I even said, do you think Phyllis would mind if I called her? And she said, I don't think so, but I'll get back to you. So she got back to me and said, yeah, you can call Phyllis anytime you want. Because I felt like I owed Phyllis an amends for being a knucklehead.
Would you say there was always some kind of guilt there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just carried with you?
Yeah.
Of course.
Phyllis and I had a real difficult time even confirming that she was pregnant. We were a couple of kids. We were going to doctor, all these different doctors trying to
What
get.
the heck?
We just want to find out, is she pregnant?
Yeah.
But most of them would say, get your parents in here. We know we can do something. And we finally did find one. I can't remember what town it was now, but confirmed it. But so I wanted to tell Phyllis that I was sorry I was such a knucklehead back in those days. And let her know I admire her so much for giving birth to our daughter, Donna. Mm. My gosh, that a 15-year-old kid and her mother went against her dad and had the baby and adopted it out. And I thought that was just such a tremendous thing for a 15-year-old kid to do.
Yeah.
So I wanted to apologize, and I wanted to praise her and thank her.
Of course.
For doing all of this.
Wow.
And so then we got through all that. And I said, Phyllis, do you even remember? Because I don't, but do you remember how we even met? She couldn't remember. I couldn't remember. She lived in Palo Alto, which is about 25 miles west. Had to go over the bridge to get there. I didn't know anybody in Palo Alto. So I can't remember exactly how that all came about, but it certainly did.
Jeez.
And so now I've got a 58-year-old daughter in 2020.
Wow. That's that is mind-blowing. Here you are, finding that you have a 58-year-old daughter in 2020. Yeah. And I do got to ask, how did that impact you? And I guess what has y'all's relationship been like since then?
Yeah. And
also, obviously, what did your kids think of it?
Well, it impacted me in a most wonderful way. First of all, I was so happy that she wasn't aborted.
Yeah.
That was just a big wow thing. I was so grateful.
Yeah.
And our phone conversation went so well, so smoothly, just like we'd known each other all these years. It just went, there was no, I don't even know.
Tension.
Yeah, there was no tension whatsoever. It's just this nice, smooth thing. She was adopted by her adoptive parents. They adopted other kids too.
Okay.
So she had brothers and sisters. But one of the things that she said was that she didn't look like anybody. Without she found out what her siblings looked like, and she found out she had a sister that was younger than her. Donna was married in 1988, my daughter Teresa was married in 1994.
Mm.
My wife Debbie was listening in on this conversation when it happened. So she began looking on Facebook and find, okay, her name, what her name was, and she found the wedding dress, Donna's wedding dress, and my daughter Teresa's wedding dress was almost identical.
Wow,
just a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So they're both redheads.
Oh.
Yeah. So Donna was always wondering, how come she had red hair? Well, her grandmother my mother.
That makes sense.
Was a redhead.
Yeah.
And now my daughter Teresa. We had made plans to get together the next month, March. But then California came out with this law. She didn't want to be, pushing the envelope and saying, defying everything right out the gate.
Yeah, of course.
So she waited until Father's Day in 2020. She and one of her sons, Evan, by the way, I've got 2 additional grandsons, Evan and Brandon. And Evan came down with her, I believe. And this was the first time we met face to face.
Yeah.
So pictures were taken of us hugging and, all kinds of pictures were taken. And right after the phone call, I started making calls. I called all 3 of my children.
Y'all never going to believe this.
Yeah. They were all delighted.
Yeah.
Rick said, "What? I got an older sister?" And they all felt that way.
Yeah.
So she came down on Father's Day, and I had written a little synopsis of that story I just told you, and I called it Introducing My Daughter, Donna. And I entitled it God's Heavenly Conspiracy. And so I wrote this all out, what I just told you, in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for Christmas, Donna took that, put it in the front of a book, and then filled the rest of the book with pictures that were taken on Father's Day.
Yeah.
So this grand reunion with all these pictures of her new family and all this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and gave that to me as a Christmas gift.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so now she's been here to Tennessee, meeting her siblings, and they've been up there meeting her, and we're all just one big happy family.
I think it's really cool how, and obviously we're going to you're going through your journey, right? But how you've gone through all these changes in your life, and like you're, obviously you're in recovery, all this stuff, and you're just a totally different man than you were probably years ago.
Definitely.
And then you get to meet your long lost daughter after all these years, but also when you're probably in a really good place to meet her, I mean,
yeah.
And you're maximizing that time the best way you can. And there's a beautiful relationship with y'all. That just makes me really happy, and I'm glad to know that. Yeah,
well, one thing that she does is she's the, I forget what her position is, but she's in management with a company that has something like seven locations around the Bay Area that supports women when they find out that they're pregnant and they don't really want to get an abortion, but they don't have any other opportunity. They don't have any other options. So she is a very big outspoken person in favor of alternatives to abortion.
Yeah.
And they have to meet a lot of criticism from the state authorities because, the state authorities in California are knuckleheads.
Yeah.
She's been involved with this company it's called Real Options. And they're a charitable organization, and they help pregnant women get through their pregnancy, have the baby. They help them all the way through all of that, and they help them after they're born with, diapers and all, just critical, helpful things.
That way they're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's she's had in her life a strong purpose there.
Yeah.
So she's really adamant about and very knowledgeable about teaching women how they can choose life.
Yeah, it's impacted her, that whole journey, like impacted her to lead other women and help them. And
Absolutely.
it's crazy how life plays out like that.
Yes, sir.
It's just as it should.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that come full circle. And that's something I didn't expect. It's interesting to think too, not long before that, we didn't have the technology to find these things. So how many people have faced those kinds of situations that'll never know. And, fortunately, she did the digging, and y'all got to reconnect. Like, props to her for doing so.
She got an absolutely wonderful husband. I'm going to shout out to Leo while I'm shouting out this stuff.
Hey, Leo.
Yeah.
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 I don't even know him, but.
Yeah. Well, Leo, what he does for fun is ski.
Cool.
Yeah. But he doesn't just ski. He extreme skis.
I was like one of those Red Bull guys.
Oh, man, this guy jumped off cliffs.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. I need to get him on here. I love that kind of stuff. I've never skied, but I want to.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can get both of them on there.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be really cool.
Going back to my childhood.
Right after you got her, basically, so you and her like never connected really after that.
Never.
Okay. Yeah. So take us through
Never. So when I got at the end of that school year, I met Rick's mom.
Oh.
And we went to the senior prom together.
Okay.
And we fell in love. And she was a sophomore. I was a senior. Her mom and dad decided to move to the state of Washington, city of Pasco, actually, at the end of summer. No, they decided to move during summer. And we talked them into allowing my girlfriend, Barbara, to stay with my sister and brother-in-law until the end of summer.
Okay.
Well, when the end of summer came, I didn't want her to go. She didn't want to go. So I asked her to marry me at the senior prom.
Dang.
So
bold move.
Yeah, bold. Yeah. So, as I've told my wife, my first wife, Barbara, I was drinking like crazy. So everybody was announcing, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so are getting married. And so I said, well, let's just get in on it, So I asked her to marry me. I don't know if we were serious or.
The pressure was on.
Well, we were serious enough. I bought her a ring, so.
Hey, that works too.
Yeah.
That's almost like unheard of this day and age.
Oh, yeah. No, that would not happen.
Yeah.
So we got married. We ran off and got married. We didn't ask anybody to remember. We just got fake ideas and we ran off to Reno and got married.
Young, reckless love.
18 and 16.
That's wild.
I was just, we both look back on it now and think, well, that was not smart.
Hey.
I didn't even have a full-time job. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't know, where are you going to live? I thought, well, I just assume I'm going back to my bedroom at my parents' house.
Yeah, we're married. Can she stay the night?
Yeah, right. It was just, that's the way it went.
Man, that is so like reckless and wild. It's
totally reckless.
It is. It's comical, but it's crazy because obviously that was a huge decision. And I'll let you take it.
Well, we were married 31 years.
Yeah.
And it would have been longer if it hadn't been for my recklessness when I got older.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we moved back first to Sunnyvale, and then my aunt's house that she paid $4,400 for.
Mm-hmm.
We rented it from her. We had two little boys at that time, Rick and Jim. And this was the time when President Kennedy was assassinated. So this was 1963.
Okay.
So we wound up. I had a job at Westinghouse. So we left Westinghouse and left that house, moved back over to the Bay Area. When I was probably 19, the local preacher was putting together a preacher training course with another preacher in the area, and 16 of us signed up for it. It's a 3-year a 3-year deal.
How old were you, said?
About 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah. Could have been 20, but somewhere in the neck of the woods. So we signed up for all of that, and I only did it because of his encouragement. I didn't, I couldn't get up and speak. I didn't know. I was scared to death to get up and speak in front of people. But I did have some opportunities to lead singing and that kind of thing. So I could get up in front of people as long as I was leading singing. But just to tell me to preach a sermon on something was no way. But I started that program, and I went all the way through it. And out of the 16 guys that signed up, two of us were left.
Okay.
It was pretty intense, I got to tell you.
Yeah, I mean that's like a small percentage getting through it.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And part of that training was they let the word out around the churches that these guys are trying to learn. So if something comes up and maybe the preacher gets sick on a Sunday night or something, they'll come over and give these guys a chance to practice.
Yeah.
So I did that. I probably spoke in 20 different churches during that time.
So it wasn't a calling; it was more of a.
No, it wasn't.
It was just something that you did, like, hey, let's try it out.
I fell into it. It was not. My whole life has kind of been that way. It's just, okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I never had any aspirations to be rich or, no. I just I just had a job. I could find a job like that. The jobs were plentiful.
Of course.
I learned to be that way, sort of with my brother-in-law, because he was a carpenter, and this is my sister Norma's, my mother's daughter. She married this guy as a carpenter. It's a German guy, Elmer, and he took me the summer between my junior and senior year, and I went out and labor work, helping him do his carpenter. He got me a hammer and all the bags I needed and everything. I actually got to kind of be an apprentice carpenter for a little bit. But anyway, I went through that entire 3 years, and I tried out for a couple of places. The no-go. Then a pretty good sized church in San Jose. I knew the preacher well. Excellent speaker, excellent man, but he wasn't retiring, but he's moving to another place. So they invited me over to, speak.
Yeah.
And they invited me to stay that night and preach that night. Okay. And they invited me the next Sunday. And after that next Sunday, they had a meeting, and they called me to it that afternoon and asked me if I would be interested in moving there. I said, well, yeah. Yeah. And they told me what they were going to pay me. It was $195 a week. Well, the preacher that was at our local church at the time was getting paid $190 a week. He'd been preaching for 10 years.
You're like, man, I'm getting some pay raise.
I thought, he's not going to like this at all.
He's like, dang it, man.
So I came back and I said, there was a singing at one of the members' houses, and so everybody was there that night. It was Sunday night, and I went over, and we pulled in there, and I get in where now I'm part of it, and they're all wanting to know, okay, well, what happened? What happened? And I said, well, I took the job. They offered me the job, and I took it. And so the preacher says, how much are they going to pay you? You you got to have enough to live. Don't be. I said, yeah. I said, I had to think about that a lot. I had to really think about it because, they really asked me to live on starvation wages is what they did. I was just really playing with him, He said, oh, that's a mistake. He said, well, how much did they offer you? And I said, well, they're only going to pay me $195 a week. And he was, he said, what?
It was getting to him.
Yeah.
It's crazy too to think just like $195 a week nowadays.
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, basically no state of the union. I mean, there might be some place you could live on it, but I don't know where it would be. out in the middle of the desert, maybe somewhere.
Another country, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we talked about, like Thailand or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
Thailand, yeah.
yeah, because that's just crazy. But you're a big dog back then.
So this thing was 3 years long. So I guess I actually started the program at 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 20. Yeah, I was 24 when I started.
And I do got to ask, and so what is your parents' influence at this time frame?
My mom was still alive. She was all for it. She didn't, she was kind of a laid back person.
Yeah.
She was proud of her son and all this kind of stuff. But let's see, my dad died when I was 21. And so my mom just went back to doing beauty work, doing people's hair and all this kind of stuff. And we eventually moved from San Jose to Norwalk. And I was there actually we moved from there to another place and then to Norwalk. So I was involved in preaching for 12 years.
Yeah.
And my dedication at that time was to study scripture and then teach what I'd learned.
Yeah.
And it had to be relevant. Something had to be going on. Somebody maybe asked me to preach on a certain subject or whatever it was. And the things that we were taught growing up was we got to get this right.
Yeah.
It's very important. So pretty much at the conclusion of every lesson, I would say, whatever time it was, does anybody have any questions at all that they want to ask me about anything that I said?
Mm-hmm.
Or did I say something that, you're pretty convinced is wrong?
Yeah.
And you want to just let me know about it today. We don't have to talk about it or have a debate or anything, but you can bring it up and maybe we can talk about it later or something.
Oh, okay.
So we have that kind of a open, okay, well, just, if you want, we think we got it right. So, well, getting it right meant that if you didn't see it our way, you were likely to go to hell.
Dang, yeah,
it was tough.
And I want to touch on that, but I do got to ask first, and you don't have to go too into it if you don't want to, but you lost your brother at 15 and your father at 21.
Yeah,
that's two big influences in your life gone like a close time frame. In the midst of your getting married and becoming a preacher. I guess, how did that mold the path ahead for you, and how did your father's loss impact you as well?
Well, my father was a very hardworking person. He got up most of the time before I did because he had to be on the job at 6 a.m., open up the gas station and everything. Mm-hmm. He usually worked at least 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And we never went hungry. We didn't live in the Mucky Muck neighborhood or anything like that. But I had a car when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I worked at his gas station. And he left an example of you have to support your family.
Yeah.
And of course, me being young and dumb, I didn't see any big deal of getting married and having a family. So that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
So we had 2 kids right out the gate. Boom, boom. Unbeknownst to me, we had one earlier. I had one earlier in the December before. I graduated 61. I graduated high school 61, and Donna was born in December of 61.
And you had no clue.
Had no clue.
Crazy.
Rick was born August of 62.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of time in there.
I told you my dad's birthday is August 62.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're born in within I think, my mom's birthday is within a week or so of that too. So it's just kind of crazy the correlation there we had talked about, but
yeah. So then I had another son in July 1st of 63.
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
Y'all didn't.
Yeah, right out the gate.
That's a huge commitment.
At the time, people would see these 2 kids with us. 2 little boys. They were, both able to walk. So but they were still very little tiny boys. And when they heard that our ages, they just were amazed. They just thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. It was just such a burden. And we would look at each other and say, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
It was never a burden. Never.
Yeah.
It was just.
Yeah. How could you ever look at it as a burden, I guess?
Well, I don't know, but I hear people talking about it now. You know, you don't want to be punished by having a child. Well, having a child is not punishment.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God.
So I never did. I never really thought about it. I was in a situation where something was a burden.
Yeah.
It just never
clicked like that.
Never clicked like that. But it really never clicked that I was more successful than certainly more than kids today.
Yeah.
Because I bought my first house when I was 21 for $12,900.
Yeah.
My uncle sold it to me. Nothing down. $100 a month.
I can imagine. I was in military dorms. I think I was just moved into a house. Yeah, that's wild.
You know, I sold that house and we moved to San Jose. I bought a house there, and we sold that and moved to Southern California.
Needless to say, you grew up kind of fast.
Grew up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it at the time, but looking back on it, comparatively speaking,
yeah,
I grew up really fast.
I think you wrote down something. You said something about every painful event is a touchstone to spiritual progress.
Yes, I did.
And I think, attached to that loss, like, what does that mean to you?
What it means to me is it's much more likely that somebody suffering will get in touch with their spirituality, will recognize that there's way more to life than just getting stuff. As a matter of fact, getting stuff is a very minute part of it.
Very much so.
So when one lives on a spiritual basis, which to me has always meant, well, for me personally, it's knowing that there is a God and I'm not him.
Yeah.
And so I depend on God. And I look forward to the day. I wouldn't be surprised if something was out there today, this afternoon, and I get some news that would shock me in a good way. And I actually look for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never did before.
Huh.
Even when I was preaching, my job preaching was to study and teach.
Yeah.
I was much better at that than I was of studying and then changing my own behavior to go along with what I'd learned studying.
For sure.
That's the part that I was not as good as.
Yeah.
I was not anywhere near as good at living it as I was teaching it.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's true with everybody, but
like we talked about earlier, walking the walk, practicing what you preach, those concepts that,
right.
For some reason, it's more difficult for people to live what they say.
Absolutely.
But I was talking about this with somebody earlier. Those simple concepts tend to be the most difficult for people in general. And it always, I think that's something that amazes me, just sitting back and like reflecting, like, man, it's so simple. Why is it so hard? Just across the board, like,
yeah.
It's always the simple things.
Yep.
And
if we get our mind figured out straight and start, well, let me put it this way. For all this time, the whole 12 years that I was preaching, I just always kind of thought that I had to get my thinking right before my behavior would become right.
Yeah.
And that sounds logical.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found out when I finally entered into recovery, and this was an enlightenment thing for me, I got my behavior right accidentally and forced on me. I didn't want to go to these meetings, and I didn't want to do this and do that, and all these, I didn't want to read this book, but I did.
You did.
I did. And even I found out, so even if you do something that you don't want to do, you just do it.
You force yourself to do it.
It's like the guy said, if you have a job and if you have to go get a shovel and dig a hole 1 foot deep and 3 feet long, okay, that's what you got to do. Okay, so if it's really hot outside and you're hating every single second of it, but you do it. Okay, so when you're finished, what have you got? You got a hole, foot deep, 3 feet long,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you got. The hole didn't come because you were happy to do it, or that you agreed, oh, this should be fun, or anything like that. It just had to get done, so you just did it.
Yeah.
So the behavior is what gets things done.
Yes.
Not just devising it in your mind.
The actions of it.
Yeah. So I did all the things I was suggested. For various reasons, we decided to leave the church where I was, and we were persuaded by some people that I respected to move out, kind of out and about. Well, we moved to a place called Canyon Lake, and it's just above a place called Lake Elsinore. And it's a small community, but Canyon Lake was a private community.
Okay.
And we were just looking we sold our house where I was, and I think we had about like $12,000.
Yeah.
And so we moved Rick and Jim up to this place. And we found a house in Canyon Lake, which is a private community. And it was really the only place I could get at the time that I could afford. The guy that I bought it from owned the house and was a real estate agent himself. And I had $12,000. So I had $12,000 I could give to him. But I couldn't afford to pay the principal and interest and the taxes and the upkeep on that house.
Yeah.
It wasn't doable. So he said, well, I'll tell you what, can you afford $600 a month? I said, I could barely afford $600 a month. I think I was getting from this little mission church type thing and some other supporters somewhere around $1,400, which fell off after a little bit. It went down quite a bit, about half of that. But I said, I think I can afford to pay $600 a month. And this place was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was built on the side of a hill.
Nice.
It was pretty steep.
Yeah.
It's cantilevered out, so when you walk into the house, you're on the second floor.
That's cool.
Right? And when you go to the back of the house, it was way down there, it was a golf course. Beautiful view. I mean, absolutely breathtaking, beautiful view. And he said, "Can you pay $600?" I said, "Yeah, well, okay, I can pay you $600 a month." Well, that didn't even cover the interest. Or it didn't cover the combination of principal and interest. So what was happening was I gave him $600 and I would owe him another $300. So instead of the mortgage going down, every month it just kept going up.
Oh.
That was the price I paid for not being able to afford the payments. But I thought, well, what the heck? I gave him $12,000, and this thing goes up, 5%. The cost of the house was $105, I think, and which was a lot then. I sold my house for $30.
Dang.
And this was 105 out in the sticks. It was Canyon Lake Private Club. It was built, house was built around a lake or a golf course.
Yeah.
So actually it was a little bit too much for me because, I'm a preacher. I'm not supposed to live in a house like this.
That
Anyway,
excitement though.
Anyway, we did it. We took it, and for whatever reason, after about a year or so, Rick had graduated high school. He joined the Army.
Yeah.
My other son had a year left in high school, and the person we rented, it was a doctor. He let us use his reception area as a place to meet for church. It would hold maybe 40 people or something. And for whatever reason, he decided that we didn't want to do that anymore. So the church got together one night that I was actually going to another church looking for extra support, and Rick called me and said, "Dad, they just dissolved the church. So you're not going to have a place to preach next week. So I said, okay, well, I'll get more information later when I get home, right?
Yeah.
So what we decided to do was to stay there for another year while Jim finished high school. We just didn't think it would be fair to find another place and move off someplace and take him, and so he missed his last year of high school.
Yeah.
I did not want to do that. So I got out of it on a temporary basis. I went and got my insurance license back. And it wasn't easy, but we did it. And we finally we sold that place and moved down to Orange County, California. And after a period of time, I got a job as I wasn't really called this, but what I really was a traveling salesman. I was calling on people like IBM to pitch them on the idea. They were making all their computer cabinetry out of sheet metal back in those days. And I was working for a sheet metal company, representing them, trying to get, if they had a product coming out, we would make their cabinetry.
Okay.
So that's what my job was. And I was flying all over the place. And I thought this would be an opportunity for we were also approached sometime during that time. My brother approached me about getting in the Amway business, and we did. So I thought this might be an opportunity where I could go to this town, maybe set up something there, and go to this town. So, well, it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah.
I would go to this town, do all my calling, and go out and drink that night. I'd get up the next morning, do all my calls, and drink that night.
So this is when the alcohol started.
I would say it was a pretty good time where it just came back. I drank a lot in high school too. I mean, I had a lot of experience with drinking, but before this, but that kind of kicked it back into high gear.
I do got to ask. So after this, you were done with preaching, right?
I was only out for on a temporary basis in my head. I would just go, okay, well, after the year's up, then we'll figure it out. Well, what happened was after the year was up, I didn't want to go back.
You don't want to be a preacher?
No. I thought, I don't have to prepare 2 lessons every Sunday, maybe a couple of Bible studies during the week. I don't have to be accountable to the people that give me my paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm making it on my own. I can drink if I want to. I don't have to worry about what's the congregation going to say about it or what, Although I didn't drink at home, so I was hiding it.
Oh.
I didn't really come out and tell my wife, okay, well, I'm going to go out and, Yeah. So this was sort of the start of my plunge into darkness, I would say.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Bringing it back to the preaching.
Yeah.
You said you were very much, the way you preach was, if you don't listen to us, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I find it interesting talking to you today. Obviously, I've talked about a little bit about my spiritual walk and, I believe in these older ways, but my connection with God and the soul, it's very powerful. And, I could talk about it all day, but I don't know, it's something I wrote about it today, actually, about businesses or organizations saying they're faith-based. And I'm like, well, I'm faith-based too. It just looks a little different, but still, that leading with that light and walking that path and all those values, they all align. And I wonder what, Ken back then would say to me, and then how, you kind of look at someone like me now, like your thought process, right?
Yeah. When I first started out, I would ask you, do you believe the Bible is the Word of God? And you would say yes or no. If you didn't believe it, that was the Word of God, I don't think that I would. I would ask you, the next question I would ask you was, would you be willing to sit down and hear what I have to say, show you the evidence that it is the Word of God? And if I could show you, would you be willing to accept it? Those are like just to see if it was worth even talking to you,
mm-hmm.
right? If I got the gist that you were so solid in what you're doing, then I would just, okay, well, you need to walk whatever path you're walking on until you're ready to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
I was still, I wouldn't give up what I believed, but I wouldn't harangue you or harass you or, or warn you that, you're on your way to hell, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't like that.
Well, I guess how was the mindset shifted,
Well, here's what happened. Here's what really happened. I was obsessed with reading and studying and researching, and I had all kinds of reference books. I would get what's called an interlinear. It would be the New Testament written in the original Koine Greek, and then the interpretation of it above. And I had other places I could take that Greek word and find out what the tense of the verb was, and all this kind of stuff. And I'd already studied hermeneutics through my 3 years of training, and I knew that there are certain rules of interpretation.
Yeah.
You can't pick up a paper, for instance, a newspaper that was written in 1941, having to do with the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and try to figure out how that affected me today.
Yeah.
I call it reading other people's mail. If you read other people's mail, then you have to figure out how they would interpret that. How would they have interpreted this?
Yeah.
Not me. I'm not interpreting it for me. But say, hey, I'll see you tomorrow night at the diner. Well, I'm not going to be looking around for a diner to meet somebody if it was written to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the way that I approached reading and studying the scriptures.
Okay.
My big problem was then that I was only interested in how to convey that to you, to teach you what it meant.
Yeah.
Living it myself was never my priority, because I did see what was wrong with what I was doing. For instance, I'd do something wrong. I got into a pattern of where I would just ask God to forgive me. I knew he would. So, and then I'd just keep doing it. And what that creates is it's just a downward path.
Yeah.
And this is what I did when I got into recovery, I found that just the opposite would have the opposite effect. So I would just do little good things on purpose.
Yeah.
Make sure I'd open the door for this person, or just anything if it was good.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be spectacular, it just had to be good. And it didn't have to be spectacularly evil. I didn't rob any banks or anything like that, although I have helped guys who have robbed banks, and I have visited them in prison for 10 years and stuff like this to help them get over their addictive behaviors and stuff.
Of course.
But if we pursue some, whatever it is, for instance, if you're looking to, if you could see this vague dream out there of having 4 million viewers or subscribers or whatever that is out there.
At least.
Okay, at least. Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't do any good to get up in the morning and pursue that particular goal, because you're nowhere close. Yeah. You have to do whatever it takes to do today to just inch a little bit forward.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just on the right. So I just need to find the right path. I just have to get on the right path.
Yep.
And I don't even have any monetary goals right now.
Yeah.
I'm not rich by any means. But when I got out of preaching, I met this, and I was in dabbling in AA. I met this guy who needed life insurance. That's what I was selling. So we were kind of friends. So I got an appointment with him, laid it out for him. He bought it. I said, I'll come over tonight and we'll sign the paperwork with your wife and everything. And I said, here's the proposition. If you give me a list of names, if I get an appointment with them, I'll pay you $25, whether they buy this or not. If they buy it, I'll give you $50. He said, wait a minute. You can pay me $25 just to get an appointment? He said, you must be making some money on this deal. I said, yeah, I'm making a little money. Well, it winds up that he and I decided to go into business together. And we started with really, nothing. we had no money. I think we put $100 in a bank someplace and called it our business account.
Yeah.
It didn't even have a name. It just had his name on it, I think. So we were several months before we could even find an office. And the first office we found was about half this width and about the same length. And it was built on the other side of the wall was a guy that was training people how to be armed security guards.
Yeah.
And part of that training was shooting guns, target practice. So we'd be having an appointment with somebody, and all of a sudden, all hell would break loose. Yeah. And, I was sitting behind a desk.
Someone's jumping. They're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm sitting behind the desk, and over here was a phone. It went down. It went down to nothing. It wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah.
It was just for looks.
Yeah.
This was our first office. Well, we grew that company into I think our, and it was strictly an insurance and annuity company. We were zeroing in on school teachers, and it was fairly successful, making a little bit of money. But someone came along and said, I heard that you guys raised capital for investments. I said, yeah, that's part of what we do. So he said, well, I've got about 50 payphones that I've already put up, but I need more. I don't have enough cash flow to just keep doing it. I need some input. I need to put up. If I put up 10 phones, I'm going to need about $40,000. I think he said 30, but so we decided to try it out. So, well, what the heck, we looked at his numbers and everything. Well, we'll give it a try. So we were going to call, we wanted to raise $40,000. So we called 8 people. We're going to call 8 people, $5,000 each. And the first guy that we pitched took the whole thing. Said, I'm just going to, so he wrote us a check for $40,000.
Nice. So
we paid this guy. He gave us like a $10,000 commission for finding it. And anyway, this turned out to be a really profitable deal.
Yeah.
So we started calling people and stuff. Well, we got 300 phones put up, and his salesman moved to Seattle. Well, all of a sudden, the number of sites to put phones up just nosedived.
Yeah.
There's an art to it. So we contacted him, and he said, at first he said, I'm not too interested because I'm going to visit my father-in-law. So, well, something happened to his father-in-law. So we flew up there to Seattle, and we started working with him directly. We eventually took over his business. We bought him out, and we built the business to about 3,500 phones. So it was doing about $10 million a year.
Good God.
Now this was done without any vision. We didn't have a vision of $10 million a year when this guy pitched us to fund 10 telephones.
Yeah.
It never really entered our mind until we got to about 2,000 phones. We're like, wow, it's just starting to, we had like $400,000 or $500,000 of checks sitting in our drawer waiting to send because we couldn't find the sites fast enough. Wow. It just got like crazy.
That is insane.
And it was that was the time that my marriage I was going up to Seattle all the time, then Portland all the time, and drinking more.
Yeah.
Anyway, the marriage fell apart because of my alcoholism.
Yeah.
And I think I told you before I know now that was the worst decision that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Because of the effect it had on my children.
Yeah.
And my wife too, my childhood sweetheart.
Yeah, that's
By the way, we're really good friends now.
That's good.
She's very good friends with my current wife.
Oh, so it worked out.
We met up with a guy I hadn't seen in at least 10 years, a long time friend who was a preacher at one time. And so he got a picture of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
And my first wife quipped, yeah, Ken wants to get a picture of his wives with his wife. And so, anyway, it was after that I really crashed and burned. I just got in so much trouble. And like I said, I got that last the last DUI that I got, I call that there's that spot still there, of course, in Tustin. And that's our heavenly spot that eventually eventuated into me meeting my current wife, because she was in recovery at the same time.
Oh, so y'all met in recovery. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
We actually met on Match.com.
Ah.
But then we found out we were both in recovery.
It worked out. Like, you don't even got to set up a date.
Yeah, this October will be 26 years. Yeah, we've been married.
Dang, so you were married for what, 31 and then now 26?
Actually, well, it was before the other one was final, it was 34.
34.
But I left when it was 31.
Okay. Dang. You know, I guess how would you say you look at, because I want to dive more into, you know, the journey of the alcoholism.
Yeah.
Because that's a key part of your story. That's been a huge thing.
Big.
I do want to know, like, how you look at faith now versus faith when you're a preacher.
Well, actually, I look at it pretty much the same, because faith is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. It just is what it is. But it's a lot different than what most people think, I think. When you say, let's just take Catholicism. If you're Catholic, they say he's of the Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you equate faith with whatever religious organization you're connected to. So he's a Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, Catholic, blah, 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 blah. These are all faiths.
Yeah.
So faith is just simply a noun. It's something that you have, whether you want to say so or not. It
comes from here.
Well, it's something you have if you believe something.
Yeah.
You know, you believe you're sitting in front of a human being right now that's alive, and I wouldn't say well, because I'm not 25. I was 25. I was pretty good. You know.
Yeah.
Now I came up these stairs twice, by the way, looking for you. You know, the first time I was looking for you, then I walked out and came back up again because I knew where I was going, and I was really tired when you said, hey, you know. So my heart was pounding, and that's just walking up these stairs twice.
Yeah. So
I'm not the person I used to be, but faith is something you have when you believe something.
Yeah.
I approached it this way in many, many meetings that I've done with guys that are in jail that come to a meeting trying to find a solution to what's going on with them. I'll sneak a dime in my hand and say, guess what I have in my hand? You could guess all day long and never get it.
Yeah.
Possibly. Or I could tell you, I've got a dime in my hand. Well, if you believe it, that's faith. You don't know if I've got a dime in. I could be lying.
I mean, that's the truth.
Right?
Yeah.
So then I call about, let's say there's 30 or 40 guys in there. I could call 10 of them up. We gather around in a circle. They gather around me, and I'll show them all. Now you got 10 guys in that room out of 30 or so, and they know what it is now. Mm-hmm. It really is a dime.
Yeah.
So I close my hand. They go back and sit down, and I'll say, the guys that saw what I've got in my hand, how many of you will testify that it was a dime? They all raise their hand. Say, now the rest of you guys, if you believe us, I'm saying it's a dime. They're saying it's a dime. We didn't talk much here. I wasn't trying to coerce them here. How many of you now believe it's a dime for sure? Everybody raise their hand.
Mm.
Well, the guys that raised their hands the second time, that would be like a matter of faith, because they haven't even seen it.
Yeah. And
they're not believing. It's not blind faith. They've got reason to believe it.
Yeah.
I said it. I'm a trustworthy guy. 10 other guys said it. That's more than almost half the room.
Yeah, for sure.
So they have reason to believe, but it's still a matter of faith. Well, I believe that. I've always taught that. Yeah. That's what it's always been. Now, the Bible itself says, the New Testament says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, which means that it's the foundation.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of things hoped for. And it is the evidence of things not seen. So faith itself becomes evidence of things not seen. So these 10 guys that saw it, they testified that they saw it. So that their faith becomes evidence to the other guys.
Yeah.
So that's a long way of saying what faith is.
I know, but it's very well said. But obviously, you've had a lot of time with that thought process.
Absolutely.
Too.
I've been teaching it for years.
Yeah. So would you say it's much less about what that faith is, and more so about like the actions that someone lives with, maybe?
Well, your faith is basically worthless if you're not following it up with action.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So to get on, if you're lucky enough to get on the right track, and most people are not, of all the alcoholics that are in the world, let's just confine it to the United States. Of all the alcoholics in the United States, I don't even know where they get this, but this is what they say. About 10% of them will even attempt recovery. They won't even attempt recovery. 90% won't even attempt it. They'll just die or go to the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
They won't even try to recover. They would just drink themselves into the grave.
Dang.
That's so those of us who are in some kind of recovery, it doesn't have to be alcohol, but whatever it is, there's a lot of addictive things going on out there.
Yeah, there is.
And we're blessed to have even been exposed to it.
Heck yeah.
Now, for me, I was slam dunked into it. I wasn't out there looking for it. I would have been one of those guys out there that,
You just went all in.
But I was fortunate enough to get caught drinking and driving at the same time.
Yeah.
Over and over, I saw my pain and your pain is what drove us to recovery.
100%.
It's just a little different application now.
Yeah, and I was, it sparks curiosity in me just knowing where you come from as a preacher.
Yeah.
Because I do have my walk, right? And
oh yeah.
Would you think now looking back, now would you think I'm going to hell? That's kind of like my question. Like, how has it shifted? Is it different now?
Yes. It's 100% different.
How so?
Well, part of that 12, actually I say 15 years because it took 3 years to get into it and then another 12 years actually doing it.
Okay.
And that whole time I was studying. I was obsessed with studying. And when people would come up and ask me what the Bible teaches about such and such, I didn't want to tell them, let me look into it and I'll get back to you next week.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know the answer.
Oh, you wanted to know it right off the bat, pretty much.
I want to know it.
Yeah.
I don't want, So when it came to all of our church traditions and everything I had been taught and everything, all those things that we would have to defend if somebody said, well, that's where you guys are already. You guys are off on that deal.
Yeah.
Okay, those subjects, I had already spent 3 years getting into that stuff, but now it's just different.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to become an absolute expert on it. What
Yeah.
does the Bible teach? I want to defend it instantly. And so I was always at the office studying.
Yeah.
And then when I even had debates because I went to a series of meetings one time. We would have a preacher come in from a distant land, like maybe from Texas or something, come in, and he would hold nightly meetings.
Yeah.
Some people call them revivals, some people call them gospel meetings, but everybody was a community, be a time to get together and hear this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to really be a good preacher and all this. And so, being a preacher myself, I wanted to go meet this guy.
Yeah.
And I also wanted this church to know that I was supporting them in this, and I would bring maybe some of my members to the thing. So that's how we got a big crowd. All the churches around would bring people, and I did this for over maybe a period of 5 weeks. I went to about 7 different meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and every single one of them, at some point, took about 10 minutes to bash Christians who smoke cigarettes. I mean, they would, it would be like, it would be compared in badness to adultery. and it was getting under my skin.
Yeah.
So finally, I just challenged one of these guys to debate. I said, "This is, you got this book. I forget what it was called, but it had all these different addictions. Coffee was in there, cigarette smoking was in there, different kinds of drugs was in there."
Yeah.
And I said, "I noticed you got on tobacco as being, addictive, but the very next chapter contained caffeine in this book. You just breezed right over it. Could it be because you drink coffee? Is that why?"
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not really mention the thing that we're still hooked on.
I started putting the word out. If you're going to come around anywhere around me and you want to condemn smoking cigarettes as a sin, just be ready to meet me because I'm going to be debating it.
Yeah,
If you want to debate, I challenge you here to debate it. So that got me into like a radical area. Now I'm a little bit of a radical.
Yeah.
But it was just my studying. I studied myself out of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We used to teach that if you're not at every service, you have to be there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Well, it's not true. I mean, I couldn't find it in the scriptures. So, I mean, I'm not going to tell people, "Hey, you have to be here Wednesday night or you're going to go to hell." No, I'm not going to, eventually, this was a lot because of Rick, actually. Because Rick had a friend that discovered some things in the scriptures, and he brought it to my attention. Well, I was so out of the loop as far as all the things I had learned, and I had to come to the conclusion personally that when I looked at all the scriptures that talked about hellfire and everlasting punishment and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that a loving God wouldn't even prepare a place for that for any of his children. And there's no such thing as grandchildren as far as God is concerned. He doesn't have grandchildren. He only has children. Everybody's his child. What loving God, everybody has to admit, it's in the Bible. He's a loving God.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to love one another. Even as Christ loved us, we have to love one another.
That's the one truth.
Right? So how could any father, you're a father now, could you even imagine creating a place of eternal fire and making it possible for your daughter to go there?
Exactly.
Of course not.
Exactly. And people always want to express like concern for me, like I'm lost. And I'm like, it's hard because I'm like, guys, y'all don't understand. Like, I've never felt so close to God. And I think I wrote this earlier, and it's like, people don't want to realize that we can be walking parallel paths towards the same light, just speaking that spirituality in different tongues. That's it. I seek God through almost a different language than some people do. But like the values, the structure, and everything else is all aligned. But when it's just done a different way, people are like, "Whoa, you need help." And it's like, but I don't know how to like really make it any clearer. I don't believe in hell like that. I'm the same way. I don't believe that, the ancestors before Christ that never knew of Christ are all burning in hell because they weren't believers. Like they didn't even know. And I think it's just, it's interesting because I wanted your perspective because, obviously things have changed over the years and I wanted to hear your thought process. You can pull it back a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like kind of over the top of your head.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's the thing, that parallel path, just speaking in different tongues, because I don't know, it's interesting, like people's opinions. And I'm like, listen, is your heart guided in the right direction? Are you working towards the light? Are you putting action towards that? Like, who am I to tell you your heart's wrong? Like, if that's what pushes you in that direction, then I'm happy for you.
Well, what I have done in my recovery is I'm going to allow all the preachers, all the members of the group that I was a part of, to go out and do what I'm doing and teach them what they want to teach them, and let me do what I'm doing. I do introduce everybody that I've ever talked to. I've worked with atheists, Buddhists, Muslims, just about everybody you can think of.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I only, I ask you one question. Do you want to stop drinking or are you just messing around?
Exactly.
I really want to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I find out pretty quick if that's what they really want to do because I make suggestions. If they do them, then apparently they're serious.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, I don't push them because I'm not going to be more interested in their recovery than they are.
Yeah.
I can't afford to do it because I cry a lot sometimes when I have somebody like this guy I mentioned earlier when we were off camera about, I worked with him for 10 and a half years and he was totally gung-ho and obsessed with helping other alcoholics in prison for 10 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
But the last year and a half or 2 years, it wasn't his fault. He was cut off from all visitation and he had no in-prison recovery programs to go to. And he just kept going, mentally just kept getting worse and worse and worse because he had nobody to talk to except me on the phone, maximum of 30 minutes each time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his mother he could talk to. When he got out, within 6 months, he committed suicide because he knew inside his heart that this was not good, what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he couldn't stop because once you start, you can't stop. I mean, I've known guys 30 years sober that started drinking again for whatever reason, and they never did come back.
Yeah. It's like that darkness calls,
You can't let it. You just can't do it.
It's like as soon as you're on that path of recovery, right? But it doesn't mean you're in the clear. That means you got to kind of start taking steps to be better in all aspects of your life. Because as soon as you open that door, it's like those shadows are waiting around it. And as soon as it sees a crack, it's like it kind of latches out at you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think the better you're trying to do, the more those things try to creep in.
I don't know necessarily about trying to do better every day, but as long as you're doing good every day.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may do better some days. Maybe I'll, sometimes my son and I will pick up some donuts for the meetings that we go to together now. He'll be 2 years in recovery. My other son, Jim, in October.
Yeah.
Which was a blessing because he was out there doing his thing for a long time.
Yeah.
I just kept saying, when you get ready, I'm here. But anyway, he's the one that's taking care of the cats in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you got him.
That's his job now. But if a person's staying on the path, if as long as you don't get off the path and start walking around the wrong path, then I think you're safe.
Yeah.
You can have days where I don't even talk to an alcoholic. I don't even talk to someone suffering in their disease of alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of life. You can't be, you got to get up in the morning and do stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes that stuff doesn't include picking up a guy and driving him to the hospital because he's sick.
Exactly. I mean, there's going to be those days where you maybe fall short in certain aspects.
I don't even call it falling short.
Yeah.
You
can't do it all.
You can't do it all.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to hell.
Well, thank you. I don't believe that.
Not that it matters, but I think.
And even if you said you did, I'd be like, all right, thanks. Like, it doesn't shift me because someone else thinks that, because I know. You know what I'm saying? And that's just that conviction. But, well, yeah.
I would make this recommendation.
Of course.
I feel like anybody who studies Scripture, which in my mind is actually it's more the New Testament than anything. If you study the New Testament, just even reading it, it's not that long. Actually, you could read the whole New Testament.
I actually study it a lot.
Okay, well, I really think that a lot of people follow Jesus when they don't even know they're following Jesus
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing things that Jesus suggests that we do. You know what I mean?
I got something to say on this.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish if you want to.
Yeah.
Well, so someone asked me this recently. They're like, do you think you know Christ? And I said, and I mentioned this to somebody too. I said, honestly, even though I connect with God the way I do,
Yeah.
and that's through a lot of stuff I've been through and really working on it, because there's also a lot of correlations between the spiritual beliefs too. I go back to the ancient ways, it's ancestral. That's a big thing to me. But it's like, it's funny because when they asked me that, I said, what's funny is I think I know Christ better than I ever have.
Well, there you go.
Because it's not about me necessarily following him, but I respect his walk. And I feel like I'm not claiming to be Christ by any means, but I feel like I live more in line with what Christ was doing than I ever have, and so it's one of those things is like, cause I can appreciate all his teachings and I've learned so much through it and I've connected it to all these other teachings of things I believe. And I just think I love learning about it. But then I realized like, that's all he was doing is he was teaching people, hey, like just walk the walk, love unconditionally. And I heard recently, and I've said this a few times, I remember this guy yelling about on some podcast that I actually really appreciate the guy that runs it. But anyways, he was like, we need to be yelling about what's right, yelling about what's wrong. We need to be more vocal. You just don't want to be called this and you're a coward because you don't want to be vocal. And I'm like, no, dude, that's the problem is people are, not everybody will shut up. People are being too vocal. Less people, what we need more of is people actually walking and leading by example. And you look at Christ, he wasn't yelling at people, telling them they're wrong. He was leading by example. And guess what? People followed that, and that to me is it's all about the action.
Well, I agree with that, except for one thing.
Okay.
Jesus did yell at people once in a while. He yelled at the established church at the time Jesus himself was of the tribe of Judah. He was a Jew, ancestral. He got in the face of the Pharisees because they were such hypocrites, and he told them that. But the difference between me doing that and him doing that was he could read their hearts. Yeah. He was Jesus. He was God in the flesh. That's not me. I can't read your heart.
Yeah.
I can't read your mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if you're a hypocrite unless I actually saw it in action. If you said, I never cheat on my wife, and then I saw you cheating on your wife. Well, okay, I can call you a hypocrite because right? But otherwise, I don't have a right to impugn your motives or anything else. Matter of fact, the New Testament says the evil surmising is not of God, and evil surmising is assuming what you're doing is evil.
Yeah.
That's not my job.
Well, that's the thing, though. He was calling on the hypocrites, the people that were yelling. He was calling on the people that were doing all the preaching but not living it. And to me, like that's so he's just calling out, like, "Hey, y'all are the ones that aren't living it. What's the problem?" And
it resulted in him being killed. They had him murdered by the Romans.
Yeah, of course. So, and
if you want to speak out, pretend that you're God. One thing my mentor told me, he didn't tell me personally, I don't think, but he would say things like, there is a God and you're not him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think I've progressed. I think I've learned along the way. And if you stop progressing, then what good are you? You got to keep progressing. You got to keep walking and finding out. You find out new facts. You change your direction. You get back on the right path,
and learn more. And you're willing to learn more about yourself along the way.
I had trouble with my own family when I fell in love with Debbie, and asked her to marry me. It was already upsetting that I divorced their mother.
Yeah,
but they were pretty. Not all of them. I won't even mention names, but there were some of them that were a little bit cold.
Yeah.
They didn't want a stepmom.
Yeah, of course.
But we all got through that
Exactly.
because you know why? Because we didn't come out and verbalize all of our feelings at the time of verbalizing, you're making me uncomfortable, and I never verbalized it to them that I think you should be a little kinder.
Yeah.
We'd get together. We'd have our whatever family function we were doing. I would notice what I noticed, but I wasn't going to say anything because everybody has to be given space.
Yes.
And you have to be given time to come to whatever conclusion you come to. And it's not my, there's two kind of business. My business and none of my business.
Well said.
That's it. So, I have nothing but admiration for you for what you're doing because you're giving people the forum to discuss whatever they want to.
Sure.
And they're also able to put out words of hope to, who knows how many ever people, if you get, I don't know what your goal is, but if you get 20 million followers and they're running through some of their ancient, your first 500 podcasts,
yeah,
and they run across me, I hope that they realize that I have nothing but good intentions, and that you have nothing but good intentions. We're not here today to preach some philosophy that's going to hurt people.
Exactly. We're here to connect. We're here to it's literally about hearing your journey, and just sharing your life experience and the things you've learned, and it's never been a debate here. I won't have that, and that's because it's not about debate. It's about coming together. That's what we're here to do is more so unify. I'm
in a really good place today.
Yeah.
For being 82, I'm in a good place.
Yeah. Hey, I think so too. I can tell.
I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, which is I didn't even know it. He just told me that's what it was, and I was taking I had been in the hospital for COVID. I was really sick, and I checked myself out because I thought that there was medications that I could take that would help me, and they wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah.
So I just got the heck out of there, and I got that medication and I survived. Okay. The same doctor, I saw him about 3 months later, and he wanted to give me a breathing test to test the I forget what they call it, the space of your lung or something, how much breathing capacity you had and everything. Mm-hmm. It's a really hard test because you have to breathe in as deep as you can and then breathe out and then keep breathing out until you can't breathe out no more. And you just keep doing it.
You get all lightheaded.
And then you get, holy cow. So you go through all this. And I had 95% lung capacity. So I thought, okay, well, that's, not bad for my age. That's what I thought. And for whatever reason, we had to change, not him, but we had to change our primary doctor. And he's looking at all my stuff, and he says, oh, you got pulmonary fibrosis. He said, I'm so sorry. I was like, sorry for what?
What are you sorry about?
So I went home and I just thought, well, I'll look it up, see what it is. Well, it's fatal. Right? But you don't know when, because it's in my case, it's I don't have it all over both lungs. It's a beginning. So I don't know when it's going to affect me, but it will someday if I live long enough.
Yeah.
But I expect that I'll die before it gets there. I've got another fatal disease called leukemia. It's it's called CLL, chronic lymphatic leukemia. Mm-hmm. That was diagnosed probably 10 years ago. I went in for a surgery and they took my blood and they said, your white blood cell counts are, so I got it checked and there's no symptoms. So
it's interesting.
So why would when it gets to be symptomatic, then it means it's starting to progress. Now it's starting to head out, Are
you still rolling strong?
Well, I'm rolling.
You're rolling.
I still get tired walking upstairs.
Yeah.
Too tired, you know what I mean?
Hey, I would have just don't even,
Right. Piggyback me down there.
Yeah. When we leave, I'll do that for you.
I'm pretty light now.
I got you. I've really enjoyed hearing your story. I would like to touch on, is there anything else you want to bring up about your journey of alcoholism? I feel like we barely scratched the surface, but there's so much. I know the purpose that it's given you, and you've talked about that a bit. And you did mention there was some sort of spiritual awakening you had
Yes.
into, a few months in.
It was about 90 days in. I was just right around the time I was having a birthday, my belly button birthday. I was turning 54. I was still in a mode where I was angry because I didn't think I was an alcoholic, and I was filling out this assignment about all the trouble I'd gotten into, and I realized I was an alcoholic. And I had put in page after page after page after page of problems I'd had all around alcoholism. I'd filled up half a notebook, and that only brought me up to about 35 or 40 years old. And I was 53 at the time, or 50, just about to be 54. And it just struck me that I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I was arrested on November 1st, the morning of, after a night of drinking and Halloween. Mid-December, I drove home drunk from that same bar to the same house, or it was apartment at the time, same apartment. I walked in, I sat down at my kitchen table, and I realized if I had gotten a DUI on the way home, I would definitely go to prison. There was no ifs, ands, and buts.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what is wrong with you? There is something wrong with you, man. You got to do something. And the only thing that I could think of was that I was either crazy or had been invaded by a demon or something.
Mm.
It wasn't just because of that. It was just because of my whole life was, as I mentioned earlier, I think, I wasn't doing anything really big, bad, but I was doing things that I wouldn't call good.
Yeah.
I didn't like that I was doing them, but my pattern was, okay, I'll just ask God to forgive me and go on and hope and hope that I didn't die.
Mm.
That's when I still believe I might go to hell. And then I got that assignment. And then I realized there was a solution. It wasn't because I was evil. It was because I was sick. And I needed help.
Yeah.
I hated asking for help. Pretty common amongst us.
Yeah. Same way.
Yeah. And I knew there was a solution to alcoholism. And I just started crying. And I knew right then, I'm going to get over this thing. I hadn't decided I knew I wasn't going to stop drinking. I had an appointment September 22nd, the very day I got out of house arrest, to go have a party with my girlfriend. And I was getting drunk. That was already planned.
Yeah.
But that day came, I went to the party, but I didn't drink. And I haven't had a drink since. I mean, the last time I had a drink was March 22nd, 97. So about 90 days after I got sober, I had this understanding that I was an alcoholic. And I've had plenty of chances to drink, because my thing used to be I'd go out of town and drink. I wouldn't, I'd go out of town, do my thing, get drunk, party for 3 or 4 days, and then come home, and then I'd be good. I could go for months, sometimes years, and not drink. So I was a periodic alcoholic.
Oh, but when you were out of town, that you went balls to the wall.
The first time after Debbie and I got married, I got on an airplane. I had to go to New Orleans on business, and so we get there, and I got there maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe it was 11, I can't remember, sometime during the day, and I got there, and we actually went through the entire thing that I needed to get done to do this business thing. But I didn't have a flight home until this was on a Friday. My flight wasn't scheduled until Sunday, because I gave myself 2 days to get this thing wrapped up. So there I am in New Orleans. It's coming up on 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. The deal was done. I'm not going home till Sunday. I had all of Friday night, all of Saturday night. And
raise some hell.
And I could feel it in my body. Oh my God, this is not good. So I called Debbie. I said, I'm coming home early. The deal's done. I don't want to be here in New Orleans by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change my flight till tomorrow morning. I'm coming home.
A lot of growth there.
So I told my two boys when they were about 10 and 11. I forget what came up. Something came up, and I felt like I needed to tell them. So look, I've never been the age I am now. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never had two kids, 10 and 11, plus the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Today is the first day I've ever had you guys. I've never had an experience to deal with this stuff before, so you got to give me some slack.
Yeah.
I'm still learning just like you are.
Yeah.
But they would sometimes say, I say, boys, it's about time to get that lawn mowed out there while we're resting. and Rick would say, so far as right now, why right now, son? Why right now, Dad? And I would say, how old are you? He'd say something like 12. I said, well, do you think you're going to know anything more? I mean, when you get to be 31, I was 31 when he was 12. When you get to be 31, do you have any idea? Do you think that you'll be any smarter or any wiser, or you'll have more knowledge, or you think you're going to grow like that? Or you're just going to stay like you are right now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to grow. I said, well, I've already done it. I'm already 31, and I'm asking you to do it now. That's why. I've already done all that growth.
Yeah.
And I figured it out. This is the best time to do it. So go do it.
Yeah.
So it got to be that happened 2 or 3 times. They say, why, Dad? I say, how old are you? Turn right around and go do it. They didn't need to hear the speech.
Interesting. Yeah. No, never like, we don't want to know that. Let's just get it done.
Okay, I'm done.
No,
then I found out years later, Rick would say stuff like that to his boys.
Yeah.
Hey, boys, while we're resting, what do we do? Such and such.
Yeah. I might have to use that one too.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm saying.
While we're resting,
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad's the one that said it to me, so I'm just passing it on.
Just passing it on. All right.
While we're resting, why don't we go out there where we just rebuilt that car engine out there with all that grease in the floor and clean it up.
Yeah, let's get that done.
Yeah, while we're resting.
I feel like I've heard that before. Maybe it's just like an old school saying.
It probably is, because my grandfather used to tell my brother that. My brother was 22 years older than me. He was born in 21. Mm-hmm. I was born in 43.
Wow.
Yeah, he just died in 2018 at 97.
Yeah.
So he's another hero. I got lots of heroes, man.
Do you?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, it would be a whole podcast going through that list.
It never ends. I have so many people that all my siblings, they each in their own way have just been magnificent. My sister Catherine, and we called her Kay. She married a guy named, his name was Kay, Jack Kay.
Jack Kay.
So her name was KK.
Okay, cool.
And she decided after he died, she was just going to say she's 39 all the time.
Yeah.
So when she was 80, I said, Kay, it's time to move it up, No, she's 29. She's 29. She said, it's time to move it up. You need to be, 49 or something. Not 29 doesn't cut it. She says, I'm not doing it. I'm 29 for the whatever, how many ever times she's been 29, 50 times, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that year I gave her a $50 bill. Oh, the following year she gave it back to me on my birthday.
It just made its way back around.
We just kept exchanging that. We could say, well, I've given her $500.
Yeah.
And she's giving me $500. It's all kinds
Keeps
of
adding up.
Yeah, it's just all these events I didn't grow up with her, right? She was already grown. like most of them were. But I always loved them and had much respect for all of them.
Yeah.
And they were all instrumental in bringing me here. Matter of fact, I would say there's nothing in my life that I would dare change because I think it might mess it up for now. If I changed it just a little bit, it might screw all this up. I might even not have met you. You know, so I don't dare think about changing anything. And I think that's what I've learned in recovery is you don't regret the past. You just accept it, get past it, and move on to better things.
Yeah, you can't get rid of your shadows. You have to show them compassion and move forward.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah, I love that stupid little 17-year-old kid that ran into that telephone pole.
I tell you what, I talk about this all the time. Like, there's nothing I would change about my past because that's all a result of where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change a thing. It's beautiful. And that's what I've gathered from, you know, what I love about your story. It's, you know, you've taken us through quite the journey, and I mean, there's probably so many things you could probably go in depth about too. But it seems that it's come full circle. And one thing that's really highlighted for me is that, like, your relationships are all doing well. Like, it seems that you've got a lot of beautiful relationships just with everybody around you in your life. And that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable thing. I never could have guessed it would be like this.
Yeah.
I remember telling my first mentor that actually talked me into going to this training class. He was like, I was like, when he was preaching before he got us started into this, let's say I was 18, he was probably 27 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was old guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my perception at the time, you know? And when I was 12, I remember that they used to listen to my heart and make me cough and all this kind of stuff so I could play flag football or something in PE. Yeah. And he heard something in my heart, so he sent me to my mother took me to the doctor, and they had me hooked up to all this stuff, told me not, be still and everything. So I did all that, and I heard the doctor tell my mother I wouldn't live past 21. So we get all that stuff off. We go home. I wasn't even the least bit concerned about it. Not at all. Because as a 12-year-old, I thought 21, that's a full enough life for me. 21 was old.
You're like, dude, that is ancient. I get to make,
right?
I'm having a full life.
Yeah. When I got to be like 18 or something, I got married, and I looked into life insurance, and I just happened to mention to my mom, I said, by the way, that doctor that told you I wasn't going to live to be 21 was it some kind of a quack, or what was he? She said, whoa, wait, what doctor was that? I said, where they hooked me up and all that to listen to my heart. And she said, he didn't tell me that. What did he tell you? He said, it would probably go away by the time you were 21.
Yeah.
They didn't say that you would die by the time you were 21. So I had completely misheard him and believed it the whole time until I got to be, older. And I knew that, my heart was nothing wrong with my heart. I just had a physical.
Gosh, I imagine you told, this is 12. Maybe what happened with, your, let's see, who was it that you got pregnant at 17?
Phyllis.
Maybe you told Phyllis, like, listen, I'm not making it to 21. Maybe that's what caused them to spurt. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah, that was pure lust.
Like, I'm not even going to be here in a few years. Like, that's so wild. I mean, you're going through several years thinking you're a goner at 21, but just because you misheard something.
Well, it'd be like someone telling you won't live past 112. Okay, now would that bother you at all? 112, that's it.
Yeah, I've seen people at 112, and I'm like, whew, like, I don't know if I want to be 112.
Yeah, right. So it wouldn't bother you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the way I was at 12.
Yeah.
I never gave it much thought until I actually got to close to 21.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
that's a good point.
That's just a little side note there.
Yeah. No, but I do want to say, thinking on it, we're talking about how your relationships are, and you're just like, you never would have thought, right? And you talked about all these experiences you had, and, there was a lot of darker experiences too, right? But
yeah,
but then you started to serve others.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, and like, okay, by serving others, what has that healed in you? But I also think it's like, it shows, it highlights to people that things don't always have to be dark. Like once you make the choice to, I think, shift your life around and start pouring into others,
Yeah.
and become more of a selfless person, you know, you kind of shift that energy into like a positive place. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of it is because your actions and how they shifted and who you became through serving others, that it has something to do with the result of your relationship with your family and everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Except it's, well, let me get rid of that word accept. My relationship with my family, I've never had a real day-to-day situation with my family overall, because I was so young when everybody else was grown.
Yeah.
I would just see them. You know, I had one sister that lived in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only see her whenever they came out to see us, or we go to see her, or whatever. It wasn't like a day-to-day situation, you know.
Yeah.
But we were close. I wouldn't say we weren't close.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters. I didn't. So I would say I was probably spoiled in a lot of ways, because my folks gave me a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was a bit of a knucklehead because I was drinking a lot in high school. When my father died, he died 5 years after my brother was killed.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was hurt. It just about took him out right then.
Mm.
And I could tell he just lost his zeal for life. He was a different man, and
Yeah.
I could see it, and it pissed me off. I thought, well, he still got me. I mean, you know, I didn't understand,
Yeah.
and I carried that for quite a while after he died, too.
You kind of like the mindset, and like a lot of people face this, that feeling of not being good enough. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
you know, I think a lot of people face that from different situations,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what you're like, am I not enough?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So when my grandson was murdered, and it was a violent, vicious thing.
Oh my God, it had me in tears.
Oh my gosh. When I got that call about 4 a.m, I just immediately just got dressed and went out there. And that was one of the saddest places to be in the world. Both Rick and Kelly were sobbing nonstop, wailing nonstop. I can't remember if it was Rick. That was, you know, I think we're looking at pictures or something. And he started really, and so I think it was him that just said, God, just make something happen to give me some comfort. And it wasn't 10 seconds later, there was a knock on the door. And it was one of his firefighter friends who lost his son when he was 19 to drug overdose. So he knew quite well what Rick was going through.
That loss, yeah.
This was like the next day,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Anyway, we go to the door. There he is. He hugged them. They hugged each other. We went into a different room, and we left looking at the pictures of what it was we're doing. And I said, well, that was the fastest answer of prayer I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And somehow I was able to see that. You know, a lot of my life, I wouldn't put those two things together.
Yeah, he needed that.
And it did help him.
Yeah.
It, at least for that period of time while I was there.
It was some comfort, you know.
Yeah.
It made him feel, he probably felt very, I mean, he obviously with his family and stuff, but just still, just as a father, he probably felt very alone in that moment. And at least another father coming up, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just proves over and over again that when you're going through something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a death. It could be anything. It could be a simple thing like one alcoholic talking to another. If you've got somebody that's simpatico, that's already been through what you're doing, they know exactly what you're talking about. They know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if you hadn't gone through it, you wouldn't know.
Of course.
You have to, so that's why it's so important that we find somebody that we can talk to.
Experience.
Let it all hang out, and that knows you, and you can't do that unless they know about you.
Yeah.
That's why I really appreciate you telling me, about your experience.
Of course.
It's, I've been in the hospital where I was so weak I couldn't even lift my arm.
Yeah.
I did listen with this one time when the nurse was looking at me. I went like this, and she came over, and I could barely talk. I was so weak. And I said something, I was on a ventilator, and I asked her to remove the ventilator. At least, maybe give me 5 minutes just of relief.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this whispering, and she whispers back, I would so much want to take this ventilator off you, Mr. Cheatham, but if I do, you'll die. I said, never mind.
Yeah, you're like, I'll pass on the whole ventilator coming off thing.
But I'll tell you who could really appreciate that is people that have been in like an accident where you can't move, you can't do anything.
Oh, it reminds me like they basically had my whole body was broken, right? So they had me all strapped up, stiff, and they had to do all these scans on me to check my brain and everything internally because all the bleeding and they wouldn't give me water, and they had so I was like, I remember them putting me in the big machine. I don't know if it's the MRI, CT, whatever. It's like, dang, makes all those noises.
Right.
It's real tight. And I remember them putting me in there and it'd just be like, and I just was parched. Like I just wanted water so bad. And I just remember freaking out. I'm like, get me out of this thing. Like, just pull me out of this thing. And like, I typically don't get freaked out by stuff, but I was just so, I don't know. And I was like, I need water. Like I'm going to freak out. And they would like dip a tiny sponge on a stick in the water and let me get a drip. They're like, sorry, we can't. And I was
kind of rub it around.
Oh my gosh. And I'm like, this is the worst, and it's interesting going back to, I've done one because I have the graft on my aorta. So I have to go get that checked out every so often.
Right.
And like last time they put me in that machine, I just felt it. I don't know. I was like, I could feel like my heart rate go up and stuff. I was like, man, I did not like this. Kind of brought me back to there, but yeah, when you can relate to people and their experiences, that's why, like, that's the whole thing. Reflecting on your past and looking at it as experience to teach others.
Exactly right.
It's
That's
the
why
greatest teacher.
Yeah, that's why you don't regret the past.
Yeah,
you have to love the past because it's especially with your recovery. If you're not in recovery, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
because you're still screwed.
There's so much power in your experience. Yeah.
Right. Well, it just so happened that when I was on that ventilator, it was because I had a backache on Rick's birthday when he was 50. So this was a while ago, 2012 actually. And we were driving out to his place, and I had just a terrible pain in my back. I couldn't drive. I had to pull over and say, "You're going to have to drive."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, you think we ought to go to emergency or something?" I said, "You know what? I think so," because it was bad. So we went to emergency, and they put the scan on me, and I already knew I had an aneurysm in my abdominal aorta. It was maybe about the size of the end of my thumb. But they wouldn't fix it because it was too small. The surgery was too dangerous to risk when it was so small. It didn't have any really, Well, I was scheduled to go in September. Burke's birthday was August, to have it looked at. And they pushed it out to once a year. Well, that aneurysm was the size of a tennis ball.
Dang.
And the backache was a kidney stone.
What?
So they rushed me to the UCI, the hospital. This is like 10 o'clock at night by now. And they put together a team because it was an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me an option to do it arthroscopically or open it up. And I said, just open it up, because I knew somebody had arthroscopic on the same thing, and they died like 6 years later. It leaked because he can't do as good a job.
Oh.
And while I was in surgery, I passed the stone and I aspirated the stuff in like when you have heartburn, it comes up into your esophagus and it hurts, it burns.
Yeah.
Well, this had come up into my esophagus and went into my lungs.
Oh,
That's an aspiration. It comes up and into your lungs. Well, that's really, really bad.
yeah.
That's why I was on an aspirator.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was in there intensive care for 9 days. The surgery went great. Well, I didn't have any problems with the surgery, but I had problems with aspiration.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to get over that. It was about 16 days before I could actually come home. But I was on oxygen for weeks and weeks, and I thought I was going to be on oxygen forever, but really. But one day I got up and looked. It was up to 97.
Good to go.
I took it off, left it off all day, put it back on that night. Well, no, before I put it back on, I checked it was 97. So I'm just going to sleep without it, without the oxygen. The next day it was 97. So, okay, it was over. But that's when I was so weak. I could, I think I heard you say something about you couldn't even wipe yourself. You were so screwed, your body was so weak or something. Well, that was the way I was. They had to take me out of bed. Two big, strong guys. One guy hold me up while they wiped me,
Oh, yeah.
And it was just, you forget about these things until you remember them.
Oh, God.
And then when you remember, okay, now I'm not going to get this. I've got a bad shoulder, that needs to be worked on. This was surgically fixed sometime. I could play golf, but I don't even want to do it. I'm just going to, if it hurts, it hurts. I'm just going to live with the pain because I'm not going to be put under again because what if I aspirated again?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna have a sore shoulder until I die.
Just go tough this shoulder out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So all this, every time you have pain, it turns into a spiritual growth process.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think you can really get to where you want to go unless you do have experience. Everybody has, I've said this so many times, life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. You could be rich and not have an easy life.
Yeah.
Your life can be, you lose loved ones, even whether you're rich or poor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should embrace that. I think it's part of it is maximizing that experience in every single way and embracing it for what it is. Like it's meant to challenge you. If it's easy and it's very comfortable, then I feel like there's something wrong there because you're not, I don't know. That's, because the experience is what helps you grow. That's what brings you closer to things spiritually and just in every single way, right? It brings you close to that light and emotionally, spiritually, physically, all those things.
I'm so every time I see Rick and Kelly together, I'm just beyond happy.
Yeah,
because I saw them go through all that stuff they went through.
Yeah,
and I did not shed a tear for Mike's death. Well, first of all, I found out later he knew something was coming and he wasn't going to be around here forever.
Yeah.
He knew that. And then Kelly, she knew that too. And so did Rick. They all knew it.
I remember them talking about that. That's wild. But
the pain that they went through, I felt so helpless. What can you do? You can't, there's nothing you can do. It has to be ridden out.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart every single day to think about the pain that they were going through.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't Mike's death that had me in grief. Rick and Kelly and Tori and Kyle, that's what I was grieving about.
Yeah.
It was just, even 3 years later, I went into a depression. I didn't even know what it was. At the end of tax season was over. I'd get up and I'd be walking toward my office, which was at the front of the house, and I would just make a right turn and go into the family room, sit down and watch TV.
Yeah.
I couldn't go in my office. And I think it was Kelly that told my wife that it sounds like he's in depression. So I went to the doctor. The doctor diagnosed me, and I started seeing a friend of mine who was a therapist, also in recovery. And he just said, well, you know what? Whatever it is you're doing during the day, if you're going to meetings or whatever it is, keep doing it. Don't stop. Don't change your routine. And what I want you to do is when you get up in the morning, I want you to go into that office and sit there for 2 hours. I don't care if it's just to stare at the screen or something or stare out the window.
Yeah.
Just do it. I don't know. He says, I don't know what's going on, but you got to get in that office and just sit there.
Yeah.
If you've got some kind of I really couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't do it. I just couldn't walk in the door. I just turned right around. It was weird.
Dang.
But I know now what people go through when they're in depression.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Now you understand it.
I totally understand it.
Well, I think a lot of things, we've been taught, I think past generations didn't really recognize depression was actually a thing. People deny depression and anxiety. Like those things aren't real. Toughen up.
Right.
But then today you see that like, oh man, these things are real. 100%.
Oh, it's terrifyingly real.
Yeah. And it's scary. And it's almost terrifying that people still don't recognize these things are real.
Yeah, all my friends knew something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be my normal jovial, how's it going? I would just go, if I was, if it happened to be church, or I wasn't going to church much at that point in time, but if that's what it was, I would just go sit down.
Yeah.
If I was going to a meeting, I would just go sit down. I wouldn't say hello, wouldn't shake hands. I'd just sit down. But one thing I did do was I shared it in the meetings.
Mm.
And that, I guess it must have helped because here I am.
So I just try to put myself in like to visualize that pain, because it's one thing to lose your like elderly parent, I guess.
It's really hard. I had to stop trying to put myself in their place because it's so horrible. I didn't want to feel it.
I felt that after I did that episode and he told me about it.
Yeah.
I had to edit it. I spent like a week working on it, making clips, and it just was like really like, I would find myself every time like just getting emotional because I could feel it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming. It definitely had me reflecting. To be blessed enough to get to sit with people for a couple hours at a time, at least.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And just like having a very, I meet them for the first time and for a couple hours at least, and that's doesn't even include like the side conversation. I mean, I'm building a really strong connection, learning stuff about them, talking about things that,
right.
Maybe a lot of people don't know in their lives, and I'm sharing them. It's just really cool. Like I've got to have a lot of very intentional, deep, layered conversations with people. I mean, from like all ranges.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing.
And this is something you couldn't have done when I was your age.
To your point, you think about this, I think about like my great grandfather. I used to hear about him, he fought for Germany in World War I, and he moved to America. Apparently he was really cool. He built motorcycles and had a big machine company. Like he did some really cool stuff. And the stories I hear about him is like, dude, I would have loved to meet this guy or just like listen to him talk.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think that like my great grandchildren or great great grandchildren are going to be able to find these videos and just listen to me.
Yeah.
And I do something for my daughter called the Aussie Files. Her name's Aussie, and I started recording just every once in a while. The first time I did it was really hard, but I started recording like videos with my equipment, and I'll just like put it together, and I got it in a Google Drive, and access. Only a couple people can access these videos. But if something ever happens to me, it's like, hey, make sure she gets these. And I also got them on my hard drive. My hopes is that she's not getting them till way down the road. But even then, like I think about it, say I'm 80 something years old, 90 something years old, and I pass, she's still going to be living her life. She's going to be midway through it, and she's going to be able to watch these videos.
That'd be so cool, wouldn't it?
It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I'd give a lot to see stuff with my dad or my, I did get to see, one of my nephews. No, he's a cousin. He's my dad's brother's son, and he was all in with my brother Jay, who was a drag racer,
Yeah.
and he was obsessed. I didn't even know it, and he thought that I was obsessed with it too. So, oh yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot of stuff. I have a few articles in Motor Trend magazine and Hot Rod magazine and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't have any videos of him racing.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
So he had these old videos, and he was before he died, he became an artist. He made up some artistry of my brother's station where he was building these dragsters and all this kind of stuff. So he sent me copies,
That's cool.
before he died. And so, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if everybody could go back and see their great grandfather or something?
It's, yeah. And I think that's the power in it. Like hey, here's your story, and now it's out on the internet and you're,
Well,
your great was it your great granddaughter you sent me a picture of? You took a picture with great grandson. Okay.
Alex.
Yeah. So Alex is going to be able to like watch this one day. He's going to see that picture, and then he's going to be able to go back to this podcast and watch. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy beautiful.
That's what
yeah.
A lot of people hate on technology and social media and all this stuff. And I get it. It's focused on the beauty. I think we've, in the world, we've focused on that darkness for so long that we keep creating more of that when in reality.
That's the news. The news is always, there's not news if someone's happy.
Exactly. Like acknowledge there's some crazy stuff, but also don't feed the chaos. Like I choose to focus on beautiful stuff. Like everyone, your story, all these other stories, like that's the stuff that we need to put at the forefront. That's that's the good stuff. So,
my great grandfather was born in 1869.
Dang.
And so you figure, probably 25 years before that, his father was born. That's my great grandfather.
It just goes back.
Back in the Civil War, pre-Civil War days was my great grandfather.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's very
think about
wild.
it. Yeah.
Well, I don't think if I brought this out specifically, but my dad's first wife, I mentioned that she died,
mm-hmm.
and my mother's first husband, he died. But I don't think I made the point that if those two people hadn't died, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
They had to go.
And that
I told that to my sister-in-law, my brother Warren, my older brother.
Yeah.
And I told her that. And she said, "Oh, don't be silly." And I said, "I'm not being silly.
That's real.
It's real. Because they died, my mom and dad got together. Why would they get together otherwise? They wouldn't."
It's like it's kind of like a cyclical thing. If you look at it, the seasons change, right? The foliage comes, like the leaves die. That's when you plant the seeds, right? And then come spring, things grow, right? Life, death, and rebirth. I mean, it's all.
Yep.
It's crazy when you think about things like that, especially from a grander view. I think about it like I had to bring up Rick and Kelly and them. After a lot of conversation with him and stuff, it's like that loss is still so hard, but at the same time, look at the growth that they've had and in other ways, right? It doesn't mean, it doesn't take away from, but there's what the thing is, they're using that situation and carrying it forward and bringing light to the world. Like,
well, they also get a chance every time they share their story to shine a little light on Mike himself.
Yes.
Because Mike was a very unique guy.
Yeah.
At his memorial, there were, I think it was 6. I think there were 6 guys who got up to say something about him, his memorial. Every one of them said he was their best friend. But that's who he was.
Yeah.
Everybody that he hung around with thought of him as the best friend.
That's cool.
When I had dinner with him at his birthday the month before he was murdered, he told me he was going back to college and try to get a degree, get a degree in orthology. Anyways, the stuff to learn more about plants and how you can mix them up and
Herbology?
no, it
No?
wasn't that. It was
I don't
something
know.
else.
I'm thinking
But nevertheless, he had these plans, and they were all designed around making him better at doing what he was doing at the time,
healing,
which was creating a substance that would be a painkiller for cancer patients and not mess them up so mentally that they couldn't function, which was current cancer medications would do. You take the medication, but then you'd be screwed up at home all the time. You couldn't do anything. You wouldn't have any pain, but you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, he'd mixed a bunch of stuff up, and they could go out and live their lives. So it gives them a chance to, kind of brag on their son a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, why wouldn't they?
But I want to tell you from being an outsider looking in, not that I'm an outsider, but seeing where they are now, I can honestly say that Mike's death has been a blessing to our entire family.
It's, again, like it gave life.
Oh,
right?
Our family has never been closer.
Yeah.
And then not only that, I got an extra daughter, and they got an extra sibling thrown in on a bunch as a kind of a cherry on top, 7 years later.
And then and Mike's spirits with you all.
Right.
Like, I mean, you see it in y'all's lives. And I think that, that's all you can do. That's how you move forward, is finding the beauty in it. As hard as certain situation is, I mean, I look at every piece of my life, things I told you about earlier and stuff like but there's beauty in it. It was something, you got to find that golden nugget, and that's how you truly heal. And that's how you truly move forward, I mean, it's often, I don't know. And you can find so much inspiration in their story and in your story. I mean, I'm so fired up right now.
Another way to look at this too. And I didn't just make this up. I believe it, and I don't believe it just because I read it someplace well, I guess I did read it. I read it in the Old Testament. There's a place in Jeremiah that speaks of. Jeremiah says that quotes. Well, what he says is that God knew us before we entered the womb, which means to me, we were alive with God before we were given a body to be in a womb. We already were with God. We're in a womb. We take on the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
We make of our life what we already, this doesn't say that. This is the way I look at it. We had some kind of conversation with God. He said, this is the way it's going to go. If you want to do it, it's just up to you if you want to do it. Yeah. But what's going to happen is this. You're going to be the son and daughter. You're going to be the son of a couple who both their spouses died. This was all prearranged. They already knew that this was all going to happen. They had to go so you could be here.
Yeah.
And you're going to get in such a screwed up mess yourself. You're going to wind up in a jail somewhere, and you're going to have a bunch of guys who are all screwed up themselves, and you're going to be telling them how to get out of it. And they're going to be listening to you, and some of them will listen and do it, and some of them won't. But this is what you're going to agree to do. And I said, okay, I agree. So I come to Earth, and this all's happened. And I just look at it, this was my destiny.
The stars were aligned.
Yeah.
That is.
And I think the same thing is true. I mentioned this to my son, Rick. And it wasn't that long ago, actually. I said, I think Mike agreed to come and suffer that terrible death for the whole family's benefit.
Yeah.
Maybe even just for your benefit and your mom and your wife.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the reason he came, just for your benefit, so that you could grow the way you've grown now.
Yeah.
And now you can be thankful for him in another way.
So nuts. And you know what? And honestly, I'm it's powerful to hear you say that. 82 years. It shows a lot of growth in you too. And
Oh, yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, it just popped up, so I guess that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's what was on your heart. Hey, we're speaking from the heart here. That's what we need to do, right? That's what it's all about anyways. And I wonder, since I know Rick personally, what's something maybe you've never told him that you would tell him right now if you could?
I don't know if there's anything I've never told him.
I feel like y'all got a different relationship now, so you probably communicate
Well, when he was a kid, he was very rambunctious, very spirited, and he was a very good athlete, very, strong. He was a varsity player on, football, baseball, and he was just, I was proud to be his father.
Yeah.
There was never a time I wasn't. He got into trouble sometimes, and I, went to bail him out, so to speak. And I didn't think any less of him because I myself had issues.
Yeah.
So he was a little bit concerned about when I got out of preaching. I didn't mean to stay out, but it just evolved. So I was so happy when I got out of it to stay out. I still was going to church on a regular basis. I didn't give up my faith or anything. But he was concerned. He mentioned this to me one time. But to tell him something, I don't know if I could tell him if I just said something as benign as, I love Rick as much as the father could love his son.
Yeah.
I love him probably more now than I did when he was 12.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
it's just evolved.
It's just to see him do what he's done, become a fireman. That's what he always wanted to do as a kid. He wanted to be a firefighter, and it was hard.
Yeah.
He didn't get into it. He didn't get into it like most of it. Most kids go to college and they get out of college. They're 22 years old or something. They get started right away, and he didn't do that. He had to do it the hard way.
Yeah. He
was a contractor, and it was hard. It was a hard thing to do. But he was the top student. All of the people that went to firefighter academy when he was going, all of those kids, if you want to call them kids, who graduated, gave him a gift and voted him the leader.
Nice.
He was the leader. And he has since even evolved from there to being a leader servant, which is what I actually used to preach this, but I never did really quite get it.
Like servant leadership?
Yeah. And Jesus is pretty plain about it. He said, the greatest among you will be the least among you. The servant in the kingdom will be the greatest.
Yeah.
Not the king.
Yeah.
Not the big shots.
Mm-hmm.
The servant. But that's how, if you're a good servant, you can become a good leader.
Yeah.
If you've never been a servant, you're not going to be a very good leader in my mind.
Yeah.
You have to go through the fires. Rick's been through hell.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own two eyes. He's not kidding.
Yeah.
And Kelly too, and Kyle, and Victoria. They have been through the ringer.
Yeah.
But it's brought the whole family, including even Donna, who didn't come on the scene until 2020. Now she's heard their story. She knows how we came,
Yeah.
She's been inspired by all of us.
Yeah.
And because of what she does for a living, we're inspired by her.
Yeah.
And she fits right in, and she looks like us too.
I love it. She's a beautiful addition to everyone.
So I don't know what Rick already knows I love him, so I'll tell him again. I love you, son.
All right. Awesome. Hey, that's a beautiful answer. I got two more questions.
Shoot.
Real quick. One, if your great-grandchild was to listen to this to you in 30 years,
yeah,
I guess, what would you want them to know? It's like a drop of advice or something that you could give to them.
Yeah, I would say, maybe just off the top of my head, all of your ancestors, including Grandpa Cheatham, Grandpa Ken Cheatham, I should say, I guess, none of us lived a perfect life. And a lot of us did things that we wouldn't go around bragging about because they're not to be bragged about.
Mm-hmm.
But just know this: if you look out for if you look out for others, and you're always on the lookout, this is what godliness is. Godliness, translated, is be aware of God. You're not him. Be aware of him. Notice when things happen and give credit. And let that be your guiding principle of your whole life.
Yeah.
If you have a purpose in life, if you're fortunate enough to find out what it is, and you might just ask for it. Just ask God to give you, show me what the purpose is. You be careful with that because you may have to go through some crap to find out what your purpose is. Something takes what it takes, right? But don't give up. Just keep on keeping on.
Let's go. I love that.
And there's one thing the Bible says that people forget, and that is at the end of the writing of the New Testament, it said that God is love.
Mm-hmm.
In another part of the New Testament, it says love never fails. So it doesn't mean you have to be a mat that people walk on. It means that you've got to love first yourself, and then you love God. And then you love everybody who are your brothers or sisters, because God has no grandchildren.
Yeah.
Just let Jesus said, let your light shine before men.
Yes.
That they can see your good works. But the follow-up on that is, and glorify God. We're built to be selfish when we're kids. Kids are selfish. When they need to get their britches changed, when they're pooping their pants when they're babies, what do? They're crying, man.
Yeah.
They are letting you know. They're not thinking about your feelings. They're not thinking about you watching TV, don't want to. No. They just let you know. Same thing when they're hungry.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't want to give up their toys. We have to learn all this.
Mm.
So you don't have to wait till you're 82 years old to love one another.
Thank you for that. I got the question I ask everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. All right, here we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is your relentless pursuit?
Well, my wife asked me this a couple of days ago, and the first thing that popped into my mind was just one word, and that word is others.
Awesome.
You can't go wrong if you're just on the lookout for others.
That hits me. Yes.
So
thank you for that.
Well, that's it.
That's perfect. Nothing else needs to be said. We're cutting out. No, I'm just kidding. But no, thank you for that. I mean, that's amazing. So others, and thank you for your story. And you said so much today that I'm going to be thinking on, and I'm just very grateful for this opportunity.
You know what? Thank you, because this has been a blast.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have to get together again, even if it's just for coffee or something. We're making it happen. All right.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you so much.
Almost bumped it into this.
Hey, it'll just bumped out of the way.
Okay, no worries.
But all right, guys. Until next time. Thank you.
Adios.